I don't know, I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know. If you break my trust once, you won't ever get it back. Keep it on me like a blunt, I won't leave it in the past. I've been running from the cuffs, you been running from the facts. Fuck it, I do what I want, I don't even gotta ask. I've been riding around in the same whip, I put miles on it. I've been the same dude, you know I came through when they relied on me. The money don't make me, it won't break me, but it could take me far. My vision on HD, that's why they hate me, cause I can see that I'm a star. But I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know how it's going down, how it's going down. Said I don't know. If you break my trust twice, I won't leave it in the past. Homie, he paying the price. Bitch don't tell me to relax. I've been running from
What up, Nerd Nation? It's your boy Chris. I'm back. Another Nerds at 9. Not that much news actually this weekend, so I'm going to get into some of that, talk about some of the news. But really, to me, the big news was James Harden making his debut for the Philadelphia 76ers this weekend. Obviously, he played great, but if you read the title of the video, I'm going to tell you why I don't care about any of that. I don't care about anything that James Harden does right now in the regular season. So I'll let you know what that's all about, if I'm impressed with his start or not. But yeah, it is what it is. Before we get into the meat of the video, I'm gonna tell you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, help your boy out, help the channel grow, like the stream, get the algorithm going. If you want to know when I'm going live, you can hit the little bell, it'll let you know. Other than that, check out my boy Recreation, just killing it in the music. I'm always waiting for new stuff. He's gonna have new stuff dropping pretty soon. But yeah, just search him up. Any social media, any Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you want. Search up Recreation if you're liking the vibes that we're bringing with the music. Other than that, I think we should just get right into it. First, we got to start with some of the news from around, the sports world this weekend. MLB, they still haven't reached an agreement with the Players Union on a new CBA. So the deadline for them to reach an agreement was today, or else the league said they would start canceling regular season games. So I'm sitting here at 9:04. I'm gonna refresh ESPN one more time with you. Maybe something happens here. Nope, nothing's going on. I don't know what's gonna happen. Obviously, they said they would cancel games. The Players Union didn't seem like they were, too worried that they would cancel games, figuring, they could work in double headers. So there's a lot going on there. Tomorrow, if, we still haven't reached an agreement, I think I'm going to, go in depth and in detail about, the problems that both sides are having, and, what are the chances that we don't have baseball this year, or a shortened season, or something along those lines, because I think, it's a pretty good chance. So stay tuned if you're really interested in that. You want to talk about some baseball, the lockout, tune in tomorrow, because that's what that's what the show is going to be dedicated to tomorrow. With that being said, I have been getting up on some college baseball. I haven't really been too big of a college baseball fan. It's just not really marketed that much, it's not really on TV that often until they start getting into the World Series, the College World Series. But with no MLB, I think this is where I'm looking. So, if you're missing out on baseball, there's some good college baseball going on. My Towson Tigers aren't doing that good, but it is what it is. We can't be good at everything. But yeah, moving on from that, there was some other NBA news, outside of the James Harden situation. As of today, Ben Simmons is still not cleared to practice. Apparently he had a little flare-up in his back. Obviously, he's got to work himself back into basketball shape. But this is a little concerning to me. I thought, he was staying in shape. I thought he was just ready to go. When they traded him, I thought, maybe a week just to ramp up, get with the team. But now it's been a little longer than that, and he's not going to practice at all this week. We'll see if he starts practicing next week, but I'm starting to get worried about this guy again. But I'm still with the Nets. I'm still with the Nets because the other piece of news coming out of Brooklyn is KD is set to return at some point this week. That's going to be huge, obviously, for the Nets. KD, whether you like him or not, he's one of the top, 2 or 3 players in the NBA right now. So they're going to get him back. They had a road game on Saturday against the Bucks, which obviously, road games, that's all Kyrie Irving can play in right now. But they beat the Bucks. Obviously, the Bucks, they had their squad, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis had a big game for them. But Kyrie Irving came through, 38 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, a couple steals. He was magnificent in this game. If you didn't see it, we know Kyrie Irving can do this. And obviously, if you heard what I was saying, last week, or it might have been 2 weeks ago now, whenever the trade happened and I said the Nets were going to win the championship, obviously I predicted that the vaccine mandate would be lifted in New York City. Looks like we're getting real close to that happening. Don't tell me how I know. I just, sometimes you just know things, knowing is better than learning. I didn't want to say the DJ Khaled thing, but I'll say, knowing is better than learning. Sometimes I just know things and y'all have to catch up and learn these things. So that's fine. Kyrie Irving should be reinstated soon. He'll be able to play in all the games. And yeah, I'm still going with the Nets as long as we can get Ben Simmons back. Just commenting on the other acquisitions in this game against the Bucks. Seth Curry, 19 points, hit 4 threes. That's all they need from him. Andre Drummond, 17 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple blocks, a steal, or it might be, 2 steals, 1 block, 2 blocks, 1 steal, something like that. He was getting after it defensively. Obviously, the boards, we know what he can do there. I think Andre Drummond was a slept-on piece in this trade just because the Nets weren't the greatest rebounding team, and he might be the best rebounder in the league. So, Nets, arrows pointing up. I'm feeling really good about my prediction. I've never wavered that the Nets were going to win the championship this year. I've stayed on that, and that's why you got to stay with your original pick, until you see information that says otherwise, and I haven't seen that. So, yeah, Nets over Philly. And that kind of brings me to the main topic of the video tonight, James Harden. Obviously, James Harden's been balling. I'm not going to take anything away from his first 2 games in Philly. They've been great. Better than I expected. I'll give it to him. I got to give him his credit. I'm not going to just completely bash the man. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about basketball, say what I see, say what I'm thinking about, what's going to happen moving forward. So, just looking back at these last 2 games, in a blowout winning at Minnesota, 27 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds, spectacular. Obviously, that was his debut. But then he followed that up on Saturday, or was that yesterday? Sometime over this weekend, 29 points, 16 assists, 10 rebounds, 16-point win over the Knicks at the Garden. Obviously, James Harden, spectacular talent. One of the best regular season players of all time. I'm not arguing that with you. James Harden is talented. He can get buckets. He plays well in the regular season. And that's why I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about any game that James Harden has, good or bad, really, until the playoffs start. Until then, I have no use for James Harden in the regular season anymore. I'm not going to keep, letting him raise the expectation, letting him play so well that I expect him to do good in the playoffs, and then he doesn't. He never does well in the playoffs. He never shows up. If you disagree with me, I would love to see some kind of statistical evidence or something. When has James Harden showed up, for a full playoff season? Did I say showed up? Shown up? When has he shown up? Because I'm going to go through it here. Just start with the overall raw numbers. First thing I'm going to do, this song gets a little slow at the end here. I'm going to go ahead and pass that one on. But, okay, his regular season numbers versus playoff numbers. Starting with points per game, he's 25 points per game for his career in the regular season. Drops down to 23.3 in the playoffs. Rebounds is pretty similar, 5.6 to 5.5. Still a dip. Assists, 6.7 drops down to 6 a game. Again, not a huge difference, but it's a dip, man. And field goal percent, 44.3% in the regular season versus 42.8% in the playoffs, which obviously, if you're shooting 43%, that's not that great. So I think that's a significant drop come playoff time. And also the 3-point shooting drops from 36.2% to 33.2%. So that's a full 3 percentage points in the playoffs. Again, I think that's a significant dip. A 33% shooter is not really that great of a shooter. You want to be closer, where you can round up to 40. You know what I'm saying? That's usually how I judge, like, okay, you're a pretty good shooter. So, those are, points, assists, rebounds, field goal percent, 3-point percent. Those are like pretty much how you would evaluate an offensive player. Those are all the stats that, most people use. So every single stat declines, and I get it. It's playoffs. You're playing better teams, more consistently. You're playing, they lock their defense in, for 7 games. They game plan for you. I understand these things, okay? So I'm not like, the numbers itself doesn't really tell the full story, even though there is a decline. Gotta agree that there is a decline. Okay, so we'll start with this playoff meltdowns. This goes all the way back to 2012. So I have 10 playoff runs, 10 of them. Count them, 10 straight seasons where James Harden did not show up to the expectations that he made for himself by playing well. Like I said, he's not a bad player. So, if a mediocre player played the way James Harden did in the playoffs, nobody would say anything. Nobody would be upset. I wouldn't be upset. But when you're averaging 30-plus points, 36 points one year, and you have some of the just failures that he's had, I got to call it out. I got to call it like I see it. So, starting in 2012, like I said, they made it to the finals. James Harden was the 6th man on that team. So, obviously, he was very responsible for that success. I got to give him that credit. But he also wasn't the best player on the team. He didn't have to do the heavy lifting. And they made it to the finals against the Miami Heat. And, a lot of the Thunder, they didn't really have that great of a series. But James Harden was terrible. It was his first, real, he didn't show up. But he was so young. He was still the 6th man. It was their first real run deep in the playoffs. So, people didn't really give him too much slack for it. They just, figured he'd be back. Next season, 2013, the Thunder made a terrible move, traded James Harden away, broke up the young core that had just made the finals. He went to the Rockets, and this is where his career took off. Obviously, he was the man on that team. The best player. First round of the playoffs, they played the Thunder with no Russell Westbrook. Obviously, the Thunder were still expected to win. They had KD, but James Harden was 7 for 22 in a home elimination game. Obviously, they got put out. The Thunder went on. Whatever. Again, they weren't expected to win that one, so people were still giving them a pass. Next year, 2014, they make the playoffs, and James Harden once again chokes in the first round against the Portland Trail Blazers. In the closeout game 6, the last 18 minutes, this is what James Harden did. He had 2 points and 0 assists. So he made one shot in the last 6 minutes, or in the last 18 minutes. I'm sorry, the last quarter and a half, James Harden made one shot. Didn't have any assists. Didn't get to the free throw line. And, of course, they lost that series on the Dame walk-off shot in that game. So, again, they were the higher seed in that series. So, that, you're the higher seed. You have a superstar player like James Harden on your team. You're supposed to win. He didn't get it done. That was his first real time where people started to say, what was that, James Harden? Like, the last quarter and a half was pretty bad. So, 2014. That was 2014. 2015, they made the Western Conference Finals. Sounds great, right? But the second round against the Clippers, Game 6, closeout game, they were down 19 points in the fourth quarter. The coach, I can't remember at the time who was coaching the Rockets, actually took the starters out. So he took James Harden, Dwight Howard. I can't remember who else was starting at that time, but he took them out. And the bench came in, brought them back. I think he left the bench in and let them close it out. And they won that game. Rockets went on to win Game 7. It was, one of Doc Rivers' many 3-1 collapses. So kudos to him for that. But then right on cue in the Western Conference Finals, Game 5, the elimination game against the Warriors. This is before the Warriors got KD. This is before they had won a championship. Obviously, this was a very good team. They went on to win the championship this year. But Game 5, the elimination game, Harden broke the NBA record for turnovers in a playoff game with 12. So, again, just a terrible showing. That was the last game of the season for him. He just went out like that. So, 2015, another failure. 2016, first round against the Warriors. Steph gets injured in Game 1. Didn't play the rest of the series. Again, this was before KD was there. So, this was pretty much Klay Thompson, Draymond, Andre Iguodala. A very vulnerable, beatable Warriors team. After Steph went down, the Rockets still got blown out 3 times. Harden shot 41% from the field, 31% from 3 that series. Just another failure, another opportunity, that he missed out on because he didn't play well. We'll keep going. 2017. I can do this all night. Like I said, I have 10 years of this. 2017, in the second round, Harden choked against the Spurs without Kawhi Leonard, without Tony Parker. Game 6, without those 2 guys I mentioned, the Rockets lost by 39 points. Harden had 3 times as many turnovers as field goals. He had 10 points on 2 for 11 field goals with 6 turnovers. So 3 times as many turnovers as made buckets. Against a team that's injured. Against, they didn't have their best player. They didn't have their starting point guard, 4-time champion. Because he wasn't there for the first one. But 4-time champion point guard. They didn't have him. And, it didn't matter. They didn't have their best player. It didn't matter. Because James Harden, the Rockets didn't have their best player. Because 10 points on 2 of 11, it's just unacceptable. With 6 turnovers, it's just unacceptable. Do I need to keep going? I can go. 2018. James Harden, 41.5% from the field. 24% from 3. And he missed 22 straight 3-pointers at one point in that Western Conference Finals. Okay, I know what you're going to say. They were up 3-2. Chris Paul got hurt. I hear people saying they would have won, if Chris Paul played. Obviously, he didn't. They didn't win. The Warriors did win. Still, they had KD. I get it. I get all that. Maybe they weren't supposed to win that series. But you can't miss 22 3-pointers in a row. That's 22 straight 3-pointers. The whole team in that Game 6, Game 7, without Chris Paul, they had many chances to win. But James Harden could not step up. He was terrible. There's no way around it. He was terrible. I don't care if, he lost a great teammate. Like, I give him a pass for losing, but it's about how you lose and what he is personally doing. Just the way he's choking. It's not right, man. It's not right. 2019, they lost in the second round to the Warriors. But this time, KD was injured. He didn't even play in the series. So, again, it's Steph, Klay, Draymond. I get it. They're probably not supposed to win. But, KD was out. This was a potential opportunity. Choked again. 2020. This was, Chris Paul gone now. Russell Westbrook in. They barely beat the Oklahoma City Thunder with Chris Paul, leading them. Obviously, we see how bad the Thunder are since then. So, I can assume the Thunder, they just had Chris Paul leading them. So, I'm not that impressed by a 4-3 win over the Thunder in the bubble. But the next series, they lost 4-1 to the Lakers. They won game 1. I'm sure we all remember the bubble, how it happened. But do you remember James Harden? 4.6 turnovers a game. 4.6 turnovers a game. They lost 4-1 in that series, obviously. 5 turnovers in game 2. 5 turnovers in game 4. 6 turnovers in game 5. Those were all losses for the Rockets. Needless to say, didn't play good, choked again. It is what it is. 2021, last year. He hurt his hamstring. Okay, he hurt his hamstring. Well, why did he hurt his hamstring? He comes into the season out of shape. He tries to play his way into shape. I mean, he had a hurt hamstring this year. Why is that? He's not taking care of his body the right way. It doesn't seem like James Harden has that same commitment like LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? That, basketball, it just doesn't seem like it's the number one thing to him, in my opinion. That's why I think he gets hurt. Obviously, injuries can happen to anyone, but, if you're not in good shape, you put yourself at higher risk. So in 34.8 minutes a game, he's still playing 35 minutes a game. He averaged 10.8 points, 6 assists, 5.3 rebounds. And listen to these percentages. 30.6% from the field, 19.2% from the three. Now, if he was hurt, he probably shouldn't have played. Like, if those were the numbers that he was going to put up in 35 minutes a game, they probably would have been better off having me, who, I'm just getting back into I'm getting back into the groove of things, but I definitely ain't no NBA level player. I could have, 30%. I hit 3 out of every 10, I think. 19% from the 3. Come on, man. 19%. Like, all right, I get it. You're injured. You might not be able to get to your spots or whatever. But some of these are catch and shoot 3-pointers. Like, he just choked. And, I wanted to give him excuses last year. I wanted the Nets to win. I was rooting for him. And it is what it is. On the Nets team, he didn't have to be the best perimeter player. They had KD. On any night, they had Kyrie, who, I get it. Kyrie got hurt too. Ultimately, the reason they lost last year was because both of those guys got hurt. But that doesn't excuse 9 years leading up to that of James Harden choking. Just flat out, he's choked many times. So I think I laid that out pretty well. Shout out to my guy Andres in the comments. James Harden, one of the most protected players by the media. Definitely. I mean, like, when I say he choked in the playoffs, like, people, I had people arguing with me this week saying, no, like, Chris Paul got hurt. He just had bad luck with teammates. Those first few series with the Rockets, he wasn't supposed to win, even though they had Dwight Howard, even though they had solid teams. He wasn't supposed to win. So it is what it is. Look, we're going to find out this season again, 2022. I got it right here, ready to write. Does he choke again? Because that's the question I'm asking. I'm not asking if James Harden is a good regular season player. I already know that. The Sixers, they're going to be good in the regular season with James Harden. Okay. We all know that. But will they get out of the second round with James Harden? Because that's where they were last year. They had the number 1 seed last year. So if they don't make it at least past the second round, complete failure. And you can't tell me that, he's so much more important than Ben Simmons. Well, I mean, I can't tell. If they don't do any better, I can't tell. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't care what James Harden does from now until the playoffs. Don't even bring it up to me. It doesn't matter. We shall see what happens in the playoffs. And, I'll just say it. He ain't going to show up again like he always does. Okay? Prove me wrong, James Harden. I hope he does. I don't hate James Harden. I don't hate any of these players. I just got to tell it like I see it. He's not one of the top 5 shooting guards of all time. No, he's not. So, do with that what you will. I also think him being there is going to hurt Embiid's MVP chances. But that's a topic for another conversation. I personally am not a big fan of the MVP award. I could really care less. So, with that, I guess let me know what you guys think. Are the 76ers the title favorites with James Harden? Are you impressed with the first 2 games? Because they were impressive games. Like I said, I give the man his credit. I ain't just going to hate on him. But let me know in the comments, on Instagram, whatever works best for you. I'll be back tomorrow night, most likely talking MLB, but we'll see with the news cycles. We'll see what happens here. Did want to mention too that the conference tournaments start, or the major ones start next week in college basketball. So definitely going to start talking about that some more, getting ready for your brackets. I might fill out a bracket live on one of these episodes if you guys are interested in that. So let me know what you guys want me to talk about too, So with that, let me get out of here. Let you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Obviously, it's Monday, so there's always a lot to talk about on Mondays. But be back tomorrow. See you guys. Thanks for supporting. Hit the subscribe button. Check out Breckreation. Keep nerding it up. I appreciate it. I'm out of here. Peace.